Hi guys, how's it going? Today I have a really special collaboration to show you. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite 10 sequel movies that I believe are better than the original installment. This video is a collaboration with one of my YouTube movie buddies, and his name is the Lawn Gnome. He always makes a top 10 video every month, and this time he asked me to be a part of it. He also makes great top 5 videos every Friday, movie reviews. He's just very active on YouTube. He does great stuff. You should definitely go check him out. I'm going to leave the thumbnail of his video right here, so if you want to go click on that and see what his top 10s are, you can do that as well. I have no idea what they are. He didn't tell me, I didn't tell him mine, so this is going to be a really cool surprise, and we're going to see if we have any choices in common. So without further ado, here are my top 10 favorite sequel movies. I'm going to start right off the bat with something kind of romantic, and one of my favorite sequels in trilogies especially is Before Sunset from the Before trilogy. If you haven't seen these movies, you really should. They are just like quintessentially, realistically romantic. I love the chemistry between Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, and trust me, if you like romance in Paris and in beautiful cities around Europe, these movies are for you. But in my opinion, there's no better one than Before Sunset. It is the second installment, and it happens 10 years after the first time these two characters meet. I think it's so much better than the first one. Not that Before Sunrise is not good. I just feel like this is kind of the moment you were waiting for, and they kind of left it hanging in the air. And it's so great to see them again and going through the whole, hey, how are you? And you know, what's new with you? But still seeing all these feelings that have never really gone away between them. It's a very long conversation. It's basically the entire movie. So worth it. I think it's just like one of my favorite romantic movies and movies of all time. For my second choice, I'm going for an animated version, and I'm going to pick Toy Story 3. I know a lot of people prefer Toy Story 2, and I get why. It's a really great sequel, but I have a really special place in my heart for Toy Story 3. First, I think because it surprised me. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was, and I like that they kind of deal with the fact that it's getting close to the end. It's actually the end for them and Andy, because Andy has grown up and he's going away to college. So it's sort of like, what happens to toys? And it could be really sad, or it could be a new adventure. And I love how they play with those two sides of things, how they have their own doubts and fears, and it kind of leads them through this very amazing adventure. And I think it's a perfect way to tie up the entire trilogy. Oh, well, I guess not, because they're coming up with a fourth one. But so far, the Toy Story series is perfect. I hope they don't ruin it. For my third choice, I'm also going to go for the third movie installment in this series, and that is Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. I think it's the one I remember watching most as a kid. It was the one I liked a lot better because the first one was good. The second one was kind of creepy for when I was young, and then the third one was just so funny. I love that Sean Connery is in it, and again, I think it's a great finish of the entire thing until the fourth one. What were they thinking? For my next choice, I picked a really goofy, irreverent movie, but I can't help it. I remember watching this a lot too when I was a teenager, and that is Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. Oh my god, the name. It took me a while to get into the whole Austin Powers thing, and this one was my favorite out of the three because I feel the first one, it was kind of cool, the whole, you know, being frozen in time or whatever, and then being in the future, missing out so much, but I kind of like it that he goes back in time in the second one, and he's back in the 60s and being like all groovy, baby. I love the combination of him and Heather Graham more than him and Elizabeth Hurley. I thought she was a lot more fun and kind of plays off very well with his very like shagadelic style. Now on to the more serious and more legitimate choices. The next one is one I think everybody agrees with, no one can deny this, and that is The Dark Knight from the Batman series by Christopher Nolan. I mean, what can you say about this movie? It's just so perfect. Every time I watch it, I think it's even better than what I remember. I think the reason why this movie is so much better than the rest of them is because it takes a much more ominous and mysterious tone than the first one. Yes, the first one was an action movie and it was very loyal to the DC, you know, style and Gotham style, but there was something about bringing the Joker in and the way they decided to style him and the philosophy behind both characters that just made it so fantastically interesting. I think a superhero movie is just as good as its villain, and Heath Ledger as the Joker is probably one of the best representations of all time. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, and that's totally okay, but I think that Christopher Nolan did something very interesting with his selection. I think there's some freaking iconic scenes in that movie, like the questioning scene between the Joker and Batman. I think the scene with the truck and the whole action in that part as well, oh my god, it's just so good. one of my favorite movies of all time, and again, I think nobody can deny it's the best out of all three. My next one is Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Again, what can you say about this? I think it's everybody's favorite as well. The reason I like it more is because we finally get to see John Connor. He's always been sort of this elusive figure, and we know he's sort of like the commander in the future, but to actually see him as a kid and this sort of rebellious street kid and very like street smart, I thought it was a really cool approach. I love that Terminator is now trying to help save him, and I love Sarah's involvement in this. I thought it was a great way of showing you where it could go to. Unfortunately, everything kind of spiraled out of control after this movie. It's very sad because I would have loved to have seen something more effective and sort of continuous to this story, but it didn't happen. It seems like the second ones are always the best. My next choice is from a trilogy that I think it's universally loved, and if you love it like with all of your being, and that is Lord of the Rings, and the one that is my favorite is Two Towers. I was absolutely fascinated when I started seeing Lord of the Rings. I didn't know anything about it, so when Fellowship of the Ring happened, I was just mesmerized by this world and the magic, and I was just gutted when I had to wait, I don't know how many years, was it 2 years? To see the next installment, because I had no idea it was divided. I thought it was all going to be resolved in the first one. But when I finally got to see Two Towers, and you know, we have the involvement of Gollum in the story, which I think really elevates this movie, not to mention the amazing battle at the very end, it just felt more complete to me as a movie. It felt like it had a purpose and a direction, whereas the first one, there's a lot of introduction, there's a lot of getting to know the world, which is great, but there's just a slower pace to it. Two Towers feels very complete. There's a purpose in the beginning, there's consequences, there's a battle, there's a resolution even. So even though you know there's something else that's going to happen, it feels very compact and ready, and I love that about this movie, and I watched it I think 10 times when I finally bought it. My next choice is a pretty recent one, and one that I didn't think was actually going to be this good. It surprised me, and that's maybe why it's still so very dear to me, and that is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. There's so much moral conflict in the story. Caesar trying to be a good leader and trying to teach them to be good with each other, but then when you involve the humans and all of the trauma that they remember from the past, the problem that comes is, are we kind to them? Do we help them? Or do we just like shun them out and eliminate them completely? So there's a lot of that conflict, and I have to say the movie really surprised me at every turn. I thought I was really sure of what was going to happen all the way through, because even with the title you kind of know what's going to happen, but it surprised me at every turn. I thought it was very interesting. Definitely one of my favorite movies of the past couple of years. Now we're down to the final two, and I think I've left these for the end because first they're my favorite and because they're the most classic choices you can think of. So first I'm going to go with Star Wars, of course, The Empire Strikes Back. I think this is a universal choice. Very few people have told me that this is not their favorite, and I think they're just doing that on purpose. But again, when the sequel just takes a darker turn and you kind of get something more complicated for the characters, something that's very difficult for them to handle, I think you just end up with a winning formula. I like it because it gives a chance for the bad guys to show who they are and that they do have the power to take them down, and it just puts the good guys and the Force in such a difficult position because not only does Luke have to face the fact that his father is the source of all evil in the galaxy, there's so many conflicts for Leia, for Han Solo, for Luke's, mental strength to become a better Jedi. Not to mention that we bring in Yoda. I mean, come on. I mean, what else would you want in a Star Wars movie? Now for the last choice, this is going to be a bit of a cliche, I'm aware of that, but I can't help it, it's my favorite, and that is the second installment of The Godfather. Godfather is my favorite movie, and it's this constant question of which one is better, the first one or the second one. This one happens to be my favorite because it just has the rise and downfall that is sort of simultaneous of Michael Corleone. In the first one we get to see him rise to the top, we get to see a lot of the family dynamic, which is very interesting, but I think the second one is mostly focused on him, the family he creates, and how his attitude and his fear kind of breaks them apart. I think it's Al Pacino probably at one of his best roles. There's so many scenes in this that I just say every now and then all the time because they're emotionally draining for me. I think they're key moments in the character's life that show you why he kind of turns out the way he does. And you hate him for his choices, but you're also sticking with him all the way to the end, even though you know that he's probably creating his own downfall. I absolutely love it. The ending is sad, but in a way that you kind of see coming, and you wouldn't want it to end it in any other way. And I think it's the highlight of the trilogy. I think we all know it kind of falls a little bit from there. So again, second installment is the best, and Godfather is my top choice. So guys, those are my top 10 sequels that I think are better than the first movie. Tell me, Which one are yours? I would love to hear your answers in the comment section down below. There are a lot more choices than I thought there were, so there's probably a lot that I missed, so please let me know. Also, don't forget you can go check out Lawn Gnome's choices right over here. Here's his link once again, and hopefully we picked a few that are similar. I'm very excited to see what he picked. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel or give it a thumbs up. You know that is always appreciated. All the social media and links are down below as well, and I hope you have a great week, and yeah, that's about it. I'll see you on our next movie date. Bye!